So I want to welcome everyone to this afternoon's webinar, and the purpose of this session is to really have a Q&A regarding Milestone 3. I wanted to make sure that I was available to answer all of your questions in regards to the written assignments. We've gotten really good responses from the assignments. However, we do want to encourage everyone who, has not submitted their assignments to do so. And so hopefully with this live session, it will give you an opportunity to do so. And so I thoroughly expect to be able to do additional webinars as we go on, because I think it will provide that added value for each one of you all. I'm going to start off by going to the template guide, which was posted several weeks ago. But in that guide, it had the layout of each one of the milestone assignments. I can go back to the announcement area to show you where it is. And then it's also under course information. But for each milestone, it gives you the format of what that assignment should look for. So that's a really good resource to start off with. And as you're aware, performance management is our topic this week. And there are a couple of items. First of all, this template guide lets you know which chapters that we need to kind of look at in the sections. And then starting off with defining HR's role in the performance management process. I have a copy of the book here. And in the section 8.2, it starts off talking about HR's role. And we can discuss that a little bit more in that it states here that a company, which is the same thing as firms, HR department ordinarily has the primary responsibility for overseeing and coordinating its performance management system. And so that kind of starts you off on HR's role to answer that first section, but you also can research other articles and materials to augment this information about what HR's role is. The overseeing and coordinating is pretty broad, just in my experience. Being able to communicate to the employees about the performance management system, to explain and be able to answer questions. So HR is a resource to employees with the performance management system. Also to supervisors and managers, HR can help explain the different performance appraisal techniques so that managers will know why the one that the company is using was chosen and how it can be effectively implemented. So then lastly, HR can help in the analysis of the data from the performance management process. And so those are just some ideas regarding that first section in the paper. So regarding HR's role in the performance management process, what questions do you all have? Or do you feel like you have enough information now to be able to respond to that particular section?
I didn't actually have any questions. I figured I'd listen to the questions other people might have.
Okay.
I feel that the information that's been provided to us is pretty detailed, and so that was my opinion.
Okay. Thanks, Donna.
I don't have any questions on this section.
Okay.
I think it's pretty, I had a lot of experience with performance and stuff with HR, although I've not been in HR myself. I just have had a lot of experience with it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty straightforward, that particular section. So moving on to section 2, where we have to make a distinction between the different type of performance appraisal systems. And so here's where there's a little reading involved to look at the trait, the behavioral, the research, results-based systems, and distinguish between each one of them. And the identification of the differences, provide an example where each of these 3 traits may be applicable. And so just to take a look at some of the different, it is a trait, behavioral, results. I'm going to make sure that that's the same ones that they've listed here in the trait, behavioral, results. Right. So with the trait approach, it's based on people's characteristics, continue to be used despite their subjectivity. Behavioral approaches provide more action-oriented information to employees, and results method focuses on the measurable contributions that employees make to the organization. Let's see if we can get a little bit more information. Here are some examples of the trait methods. I've probably used the graphic rating method, the forced choice methods. And so I would think if you were to choose one of those types of trait methods, that would be sufficient. The behavioral methods, you can see here the critical incident, BARS, and BOS are different types. Results method could be MBO, the management by objectives. And so what I encourage you to do is to take a look in the chapter. Let's see if we can take look a little bit further in chapter 8. And see, does anybody know which section is the different methods in chapter 8?
I'm sorry, I don't remember which one is.
Okay.
Which.
Yeah.
8.3?
Either one of them, the trait, behavioral, or results oriented. There's the graphic rating scale, so that must be close to the section.
Did you try 8.3 or?
Yeah, I think that's where I am. So they're described in detail in the chapter for each method. And I think the best thing in terms of guidance is if you were to choose one example of each of the types, one example of the trait, one example of the behavioral, one example of the results, then that should be sufficient. You don't have to explain each one of them. Now, the second part of that question is provide an example where each of these 3 traits would be most applicable. And so we kind of have some practice doing that with the discussion question this week. We're applying in our discussion question the 360-degree appraisal method to a call center. And y'all have had some good feedback in that discussion. So what you probably have noticed already is that not every system works in every environment. And so that's what the second part of this question is asking. Where would the trait method be most applicable? Where would the behavioral method be most applicable? And also, lastly, for the results-based performance appraisal system. So you kind of have to think about the examples, given your knowledge of each one of those different methods, to come up with a scenario in which they would be best utilized.
So you're looking for all three.
Right. An example for each one of them. So what other questions do you all have about that particular section?
I'm sorry. I was wondering, we're in this section, we're not putting, we don't need to compare like different ones in the trait, different ones in behavioral, just share which one of them in there.
Yes,
Is that right?
that is right. So like, for example, you may take the, let's see, you may take the forced choice method, which is kind of interesting. It's a different take on it's the one that, we used at my company. So you may take that out of the trait method and compare it to the critical incident method in the behavior model, and then compare both of those to the management by objectives and how they differ, how they're similar and how they're dissimilar.
So all those methods there are trait methods? No.
No,
Results.
I chose the forced
compare
choice as the
those
first.
together to see which one is going to work the best.
Say it again.
Yes. So you're comparing them to see which ones are working that would be the best, or we're just sharing one for each?
Okay, so I chose the forced choice method out of the trait methods. So that's the only one I used out of trait. Then to distinguish between the different types, then I chose the critical incident method out of the behavioral methods. And then MBO out of the result methods. Because the first part of the question is to distinguish between the different methods. So we're just choosing one out of each category or appraisal system.
Okay, I was on the same page, but just thinking differently. So.
Okay. And then you're going to provide an example of where each one of your methods that you've chosen would be applicable, how it would be used. Okay. Moving on. Then we're going back to our case study. And
I lost you. I don't know if it was just me.
Oh, it's probably my internet connection.
I'm not hearing her.
Oops.
I can hear you, Donna, but I can't hear Professor Benjamin.
I'm gonna sign back in. Ooh. Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
You can? Oh, my internet kind of got weak.
Yes, I can hear you now as well.
Okay, good. I'm glad I didn't lose you guys. Okay. So section 3, we are taking the case study, the Marisk case study, and determining which appraisal system or method would be best suited for their needs. So you get a chance to apply the information that you've gotten from the different systems to the case study. Section 4, identify and describe a variety of performance rating scales that can be used in the organizations, including the graphical scales, letter scales, and numeric scales. So they kind of give you an idea of what scales that you could choose from. See if I have any information about that. I don't seem to have any slides on the scales, but Donna, Tamara, do y'all have which section of the book that it's located in?
I didn't see anything in there. There were a little bit about scales, but not very much. I just thought I'd go I would just look around for it on the internet.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find it in the index, the book index.
Okay, so it is in section 8.3b, behavioral methods. And
Okay.
it is right after the BOS.
Okay.
So it gives examples for the bars for municipal fire companies and then sample items for behavioral observation scales.
Awesome. Let's see if we can get to it.
I'd give you a page number, but these page numbers are screwy.
Yeah, I found one page number. See if we can start there.
If you do a search for BARs,
Yeah.
it should pull it up, and then on the right hand side it will tell you some information.
Okay. I don't see where I need to search right now.
Yeah, you don't seem to have the.
Oh, here it is.
to the
Here it
left.
is. I got it.
Do current book,
Uh-huh.
and then I don't see your.
Oh, there it is.
So if you type
BARS.
yeah, but here, let me get back to that page, and I can tell you exactly what it says. So type in example of ABARs, and that'll probably bring you to closer to that page.
Okay.
No. Scroll down on the left there. Really? You know what? Type the word firefighting.
Okay.
Instead of bars. I doubt there's more than one reference there. All right.
Is that the section you were looking at?
No, you're in chapter 4. So if you scroll down, right under the word sort to the left, scroll down because there's 5 results. It's probably,
There we are. I think that's what you're looking for. Is that it?
no, next one.
Okay. Well, at least we know that it's in the book, okay?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, scroll down a little more over on the left there because there's one more. Yeah, that's probably going to be it. Of course not. All right,
So-
scroll down a little more. Maybe there's one more result. There is.
I don't know. Well, I think the point I want to make is that it's definitely
Well, no, that's it. That's the page. Because you see to the right there represents almost always 90 to 95 to 100%. 4 represents frequently.
uh-huh.
So there's your scale right there.
Okay. And we appreciate that. And so that's what that section is asking for. And I would just say, you can research other articles and information if you feel like you have a need to augment your information. Also, to use the library for resources. And what other questions do you have?
I'm good.
Okay.
So I did have a question about on the rubric
Uh-huh.
where it says evaluation suited appraisals. Is that correlate to number 3 section of the
I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can pull up the rubric right quick, and I'll be right back. Let's see. Let me pull it up. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I'm sorry, Tamara, can you tell me again? Which one?
Yes. Thank you so much for bringing up the rubric. So the section where it says evaluation suited appraisals, is that where we're using the section where we put in the information about how Maersk, how do you say that? Maersk customer service care, how we would best suit that for an appraisal? Is that where we're putting that information?
No, I think that's where you're determining how to identify best suited appraisals for employee job duties. Well, I take that back. Yes, but you're also going to determine. You're also going to say which methods, the examples that you're using of applying the trait, the behavior on the results based, in addition to the Maersk example.
Okay, so other companies that would fit in those categories that I put in the evaluation performance appraisal would also, then I would find jobs that would fit into that as well. Is that what you're saying?
See, determines how to identify best suited appraisals for employee job duties and supports response with an example. I'm thinking when you say for the forced choice method of a trait appraisal system, that you would say that is best utilized when you have an organization that has a large number of employees, that you have that as an example, and you have the case study as the example to show how it's best suited for that type of situation. So the only thing different from what I said and what you said was, instead of company, it's a situation. What situations would you recommend for the type of trait appraisal system? What type of,
Okay.
okay, you got it?
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. So
I
I'm,
hope. It's always different when you get to your paper and write it.
I know. So I'm running out of time with Zoom. It's telling me that I'm about to log off. So I guess you just have 10 minutes free. So if you have any other questions, just email me, as you're doing your paper or whatever. I respond to emails very quickly. So just email me if you have any other questions. And I do appreciate y'all spending the time tonight.
Well, thanks for your time.
Oh, you're welcome. Take care.
Alrighty.
You too.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye, Donna.
Bye.